Right, hi guys. So, flying your drone fast over water, chasing boats, jet skis, stuff like that. Yep, it is doable. And with the DJI Air 3S, you have two cameras. So you have a 24mm and a 70mm lens. Or lenses. It's very useful to be able to get close to your subject without being close to your subject physically. And it can make a huge difference in the way the footage looks, because you are a narrow angle of view versus the wide angle, and also, like I say, the safety side of it, so you can be further back from your subject but still be quite close to them in the camera. Two, you can sit up a little bit higher, so things like water are never fun to be over, because you're always going, right, where can I land my drone if I get a fault or an issue? Yep, I could probably put it on the boat, but there's not much space on those boats, and they'd have to catch it, or I'd have to dump it in that bit at the front there, or whatever. But it's not easy. So in theory, you're probably going to lose your drone. So filming these guys doing training, so they are doing mock recoveries, they're doing boat swaps, they're doing loads of different things, and obviously, I'm taking consideration the fact that there is three boats, a couple of jet skis. There was even some swimmers as well, which is winter and it's freezing. And I have no idea why you'd want to be in the sea. But anyway, um, being conscious of the safety, and one, my view is very difficult, especially chasing a boat. I'm looking at my camera, the screen, trying to stay with them. I'm not using any tracking or anything like that. I'm trying to fly it manually. So I've got a spotter, one of the guys there keeping an eye on where the drone is and shouting at me, stop, you're going to hit something, or what, he's basically giving me instructions, so I don't crash, basically. Um, the other side of it is, you know, there are posts, there are boats, people, the land. There are members of public wandering up and down the promenade, even though I'm obviously out to sea as much as possible. Once you have done a couple of rotations around a boat at 40 mph, you kind of don't know where you're going. So hence someone spotting for you makes a huge difference. Um, the other side of it, obviously, is trying to capture the best you can do. Keep an eye on your battery level. I went through 3 batteries over a period of time, and it was absolutely fine. But I was bringing them back in way before low power. You don't want to be trying to do a return to home out at sea, because you just don't know how long, really, it may just drop in the sea. There's a possibility. So always bring it back in, when, early. So there we go. One thing I was interested about was, now it's been restricted, the Air 3S, to its top speed. Is it still capable of keeping up with fast moving boats, jet skis, and stuff like that? And actually, absolutely fine. Not a problem whatsoever. In fact, I was quicker than them by quite a bit. As you can see, I overshoot. But the other side of it is, one thing I've been thinking about was the wind. So if it's a really windy day, do I still have the same control as I had before? Well, Ian in London, and I'll put a link in the description, he's just done a video about it, testing the wind restriction side of it on the Air 3S. So interesting video. Go and have a look at this once you've seen this one, and yeah, it's worth listening to, especially if you're thinking about getting an Air 3S, because at the end of the day, a bigger drone is going to be better in the wind. It's much more stable, and it's something that you've got to be aware of, especially in windy areas. Ever since I've had this drone, it's given me a lot more confidence in flying in higher wind situations. So that's another thing as well. And especially when you're out to sea, you really want the wind coming onshore. So last thing I really wanted was the wind blowing out to sea, because you know. So yeah, very lucky that day it was actually blowing onshore. So even though it was only about 8 miles an hour, but it did give me plenty of confidence. So really, really cool. Yeah, it's just this drone just flies brilliantly, and flying it in sport mode, obviously it turns off all your anti-crash systems, and you've got to take in consideration things like that post, the boats, the water. If I mess it up, I mess it up. It's my fault. I have no safety aids whatsoever. So keeping an eye on my height, trying to stay at a certain level, and that's one thing I would wish they would implement was once you take off, can you give yourself a minimum height so it won't come down any lower. So if I wanted 10 meters minimum, just as a temporary lock, so you basically, I'm flying out to sea, I want to keep it a minimum of 10 meters off the water, you'd lock it at 10 meters. If that's something that it would be possible, it would be amazing, because in this situation here, I was conscious that I was coming down on a few occasions, not loads, but it's one of those things where you just think, oh, that it would have been handy if I could lock the height. Maximum and minimum as such would be quite a cool thing to have. But super impressive, this drone. I've had it just over 6 months now, and it's been fabulous. Chasing cars, doing filming with cars, and doing this was the first time I got out with boats. So yeah, really quite a cool thing. Very scary though, very scary. But anyway, I hope all that blabble made some kind of sense, and yeah, I'll see you soon for another video. Cheers.